an absolutely incredible trip. I've been on it 3 times. It's really, really well priced. It's $2,995 for 7 days in Yellowstone in winter. If you look online at any of the equivalent kind of tours like this, you're looking at around $6,000 to $7,000. So this is an absolute steal. You get to go to the Madison, Hayden, Norris, Grand Canyon, Old Faithful. We do 6 days total in the park, of which 2 of those are on a snow coach. So you stay in West Yellowstone, you get in a snow coach for 2 days, go into the interior of the park. The rest of the time you're in Gardner and you get in a heated Suburban and do Lamar and that area. This includes all lodging and all meals, which most tours don't include, by the way. So that makes the price even better. And then you have to just pay for tips and for the park entrance and for any alcoholic drinks, but everything else is included. It's an absolute steal. So if you're interested in going to this, it's in January 2024. So it's a little way off, but we're going to open registrations on May the 1st at exactly noon. So you will have to keep an eye on your emails. It will come from the Teton Photography Club email address. Make sure that that's saved in your contacts so you don't go into, it doesn't go into spam. And all you have to do is hit reply. That's all. What will happen after that is that you'll get an email back saying, okay, you've got a spot. You now have to pay a deposit within the next 24 hours. If you don't pay that deposit, you lose your spot. But this is really worth making an effort. If you've ever thought about going to Yellowstone in winter, it's absolutely incredible. It's a different place than summer. You'll probably see wolves. We've seen them almost every time. You see otters. It's just, and if you're a landscape photographer, you will go nuts because the thermal areas in winter are just absolutely pristine and beautiful. So that's going to happen before our next meeting. So keep that in mind. Keep an eye on your emails. So I just wanted to, so what Lauren was saying is we're going to go through some photos that we've had submitted tonight, which have come from our members. These are from people that are looking at doing post-processing, basically. So it used to be that it was, post-processing was pretty simple. It's now, there's a lot of tools you can get. It's a lot more complicated. There's AI, there's all sorts of things. So just before we get into the submissions from our members, I'm going to go through a couple of little tips and tricks that you might not know about, that you might want to use in your post-processing. I'm going to start by doing something pretty simple, which is in Lightroom, and it's just moving a bird in a photo if it's slightly in the wrong place. So I took this photo over my house on Sunday. These are 3 sandhill cranes. They look really beautiful, but one of them is sort of moving off the frame a bit, and I'd like to sort of get it maybe over in this part of the picture instead of being right at the top here. So you can see it's right up here. I want to put it over here. So what I'm going to do is go into my healing tool, which is over here in my panel in Lightroom, select the healing icon, which is like a little, what do you call it? Band-aid. It's a Band-aid. And so I want to select that, and then it's blinking on and off.
Yeah, the panel. There we go. The minute you something moves.
Okay. Is it? Can everyone see what I'm doing?
I think when you touch the panel, it's there. Yes.
What's happening, Lauren? Is this?
I don't know.
Oh, I see. It is. I'm not actually doing that though. On my screen, it's not doing that. So I don't know why it's blinking on and off. Are you seeing that? Okay. Anyway, so, someone's just alerted me to the fact that apparently the toolbar on the right is blinking on and off, and I apologize for that. I'm not doing that. It's something between the projector and my computer, so I apologize for that. So let's just, what I want to do is move this bird into a different place in the picture. So I'm going to select my little Band-Aid. I'm going to change the size of my brush here so that it covers the whole of my bird. So I'm going to make that bigger so that it fits over my bird. So there it is, fits over my bird now. I'm going to select an area in the sky where I want my bird to be. So I think I probably want it to be maybe here near these other two, like about there. So now you can see these two circles, and you can see that Lightroom has selected the circle at the top as the area that it's going to use to heal my picture. So if I just click on this and drag it over to this bird, then I can move the bird just like that. And then now I've got 3 birds. That's a much nicer composition than it was before. Very simple, very easy to do. And then I'll just make a couple of, oh, that's not a very nice adjustment. I might just crop that to maybe a 4:5, move them over a bit, and there we go. I might bring down my highlights a bit. So there you go. So now I've got a much better balanced picture. It is cheating, I admit that, but you know, it's just a trick you can use if you like. So that's one way that you can move things around a picture. I'm going to show you another way, another couple of tricks now. So I'm going to just share my other screen from Photoshop. So just give me a second. Right. So this is a picture of a kingfisher that I took at the Flat Creek Overlook a couple of weeks ago. And I really like it, but I don't really like this fence. It kind of looks a bit, I don't like the fence. So I'm going to get rid of it. So what I'm going to do, this is in Photoshop, by the way, not in Lightroom. This is in Photoshop. So I'm going to make a quick mask by clicking on Q on my keyboard. And I'm just going to quickly paint over this fence. So I get a brush that's about the right size. Just zoom in on this a little bit. So I'm just going to get my brush and paint around this fence like this. It's not perfect, but I'll just do it quickly. So obviously you'd do this a lot more carefully if you had the time and you were being very careful, but you just paint over it like that. And then when you hit Q again, it's now made a selection where your fence used to be. And now I'm going to go to my selection menu, go invert my selection, and then content aware fill. And you can see in the panel on the right here, it's given me a preview of what it's done. It's still thinking. Oh no, maybe it isn't thinking. So I'm going to say, yes, that's okay. And so it's removed that fence. It hasn't done a perfect job. You can see there's still a little bit here, but that's because my brushing was terrible. So you can go and, if I'd had time, I would have painted over all of this fence, and Photoshop just removes it. And this is a fantastic tool to use, especially for things like fences, which are really fiddly and often have stuff in the background. So this is really a nice way to do that. Now, another level up for that is to use the new version of Photoshop, which is still in beta, by the way, which means it hasn't been released yet. No, I don't want you to do that. I'm just going to share my other screen. So let's go to the new. So this version of Photoshop is not released yet. Where is Photoshop? Here we go, beta. So you can get it if you are a subscriber to the Adobe Photography plan. When you go to your Creative Cloud, and I'll just do that so I can show it to you, so you know how to find it if you want it. Here's Creative Cloud. So can everyone see these are all the apps that you have access to if you are pay your like $10 a month to get the photography plan. So see on this left-hand side, it says all apps, and it's got Photoshop, Lightroom. Some of them, you know, you have to pay extra for example, down here, the stuff you've got to buy. But if you go down here to this menu that says beta apps and click on that. Photoshop beta is here and you can download it. Now, as I said, beta means it's not finalized yet. There's probably still bugs in it. It's not the one but they put it out to the public so that people can try it. They can then tell the Photoshop developers, oh, this doesn't work. Can you fix this? So it's kind of like a trial process that they do, and they'll let you have access to it and play with it. And there's a new tool that you will get access to very soon in the full version of Photoshop. But right now you can only get it in beta, but it's really good. Let me show you why, because it does some amazing things in terms of removing stuff that you don't want in your photo. So here we go. So this is a particularly complicated photo. This is some beautiful little mule deer in the refuge taken a couple of weeks ago. But look how horrible this fence is. It looks awful, right? It's so messy. Even this trees and everything are pretty messy. We can fix it really easily. This tool is so incredible that I gasped when I was using it because it's so smart. It's called Remove. It's only in the beta version of Photoshop. So you have to get the trial version called beta, but you can get that if you have a photography plan subscription. How you find it is you go into the healing brush panel here in Photoshop. So again, it looks like a little Band-Aid. Select, let me just get that back. So you select this tool. It's called the Remove tool. So can you see the little icon that's coming up on the left here? So instead of having to, like I did just before with that fence and the kingfisher, I had to paint all around it and then make a selection and then invert the selection and then tell it to do the remove. This is simply a brush that removes things. So watch this. You'll just be so happy. I was. Maybe you won't. I don't know. So all you do is you select the remove tool and you paint like this and it removes it. Just watch. Gone. Magic, right? Here. And so if you keep your mouse moving, you can remove large sections. And instead of having to, draw around and then make a selection, or maybe you've previously used the rubber stamp tool to copy areas next to a fence to remove it. Look at that. Gone. I think this is amazing. Like, it's so easy, right? You don't even have to know anything about masking or complicated stuff in Photoshop. You literally just drag your mouse and it removes it for you. And it even, check this out, guys, you can tell I'm excited, right? Check this out. So see this section of the fence here where it's wrapping around this post? Watch what it can do. Watch what this tool can do. It's thinking about it, but it's going to do it.
So you don't have to click anything. It just instantly removes it without clicking anything else.
You click your mouse on the area where you start and you drag,
right?
And you let go of your mouse.
And it does it.
And it does it. See that?
And when you went over some of the tree branches, it kept the tree branches, but still remove the fence, right? Did I see that?
Well, no. I mean, if I paint on the tree branches, they'll be removed as well.
Oh, because the post wasn't removed when you painted it.
No, that's right. But it probably can't tell the difference between the fence and the branches because they look so similar. So but if I just paint here and not the branch, it won't remove the branch. Actually, that did a terrible job for me. If I do that.
It's kind of like a stopping brush.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think the fact that it can actually remove stuff that's on top of something else and it still leaves that post like that. I mean, look at this. You just go, I don't want this bit of wire here, but I still want the post. And it just goes, yeah, no worries. Watch this. I mean, that's a little bit funny. So sometimes it'll do things that are a little bit weird and you might have to go and patch them, but otherwise this is amazing. Like, it saves so much time. But again, you can only get it in the beta version of Photoshop. So you need to go get the beta version. And it's again under the healing here, and it's called remove. It's called remove. So I recommend that you play with that. I think you'll really like it. It's so quick and easy. It's going to say, like about 2 weeks ago, I took this photo and I thought, oh, it's a really sweet photo, but I really don't like the fence. How am I going to get rid of the fence? And so I was Googling around to figure it out and found this new tool. And I was like, well, that's going to fix all my problems. Like that's great. So anyway, there's some updates from the new Photoshop, which you might find useful. Does someone have a question?
I do. How do you magnify your picture when you're working in Lightroom? Can't you just hit the key that makes it
In Lightroom?
in Lightroom, or you've been doing it in Photoshop too?
Well, in Photoshop, I hit Command 0 on a Mac to fit it in the screen,
Okay.
or Command 1 to view it at 100% on a Mac. Lauren might know the commands in
Control.
Control. Okay, Control.
And same in Lightroom?
Do you know in Lightroom? I don't know.
In Lightroom, there's a magnify at the bottom and you just adjust the
Or
size
slide it?
on that.
Slide
It's just slide it down.
Yeah, but I mean, I could sit here all day and do this. I think it's amazing.
But you could make it really big and wipe out a bunch of fence at once, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, for example, well, possibly I haven't spent that much time playing with it. I don't know. So well, let's just try it. I mean, let's make the brush really big and just go like that and see what happens. Yeah, that doesn't work. So I think you have to be a little, unless you want more fence with more posts, I think you have to be a little bit more precise. So yeah, we won't do that. But yeah, that's really cool. I think this is a great tool. I'm going to be using it all the time. And just one more thing before we get started on the submissions we got from members, I just want to show you one more thing, which was introduced actually to myself last meeting by one of our members, John Heberger. And I subsequently started using this and it's fantastic. So it's a new noise reduction AI. So some of you may have used Topaz before, the Topaz tools. This one is called DxO Pure Raw. I'm currently using the demo version because I didn't want to buy it until I tried it. So you can get a 30-day free trial. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm going to I think it might be difficult for people to see this on screen, but I'm going to try my best. I'll go back and tell you again in a sec. It's called DxO Raw. So can everyone see this? And I don't know if you can tell if it's noisy or not, but it's 12,800 ISO. So it's pretty noisy, I reckon. And I'm just going to see if I can get this to work. Actually, I'll just probably stick it in DxO. So just trying to move these tools away. So I'm going to add a photo in here. Oh, I don't really know where to put it actually. Let me see. 8480. Sorry guys, just give me 1 second. I'm just trying to find this in I'm just going to save it to the desktop actually. That's what I'll do. Okay, and then it's not going to let me save it as a Someone's squeaking. Is that you, Lauren?
What do you want me to do with that chicken?
All right, give me a second. I apologize for this. I've just got to find this
Maybe
photo.
those little
then I'll show you a quick
Southwest things with the spicy. When you fry it in the,
Apologize for the wait. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay, here it is. Copy that. Okay. Right. I don't know. I can't find this image. I guess I'll just use something else. All right, let's come back to this. Sorry, I apologize for that. Let's come back to it. Let's get started with our submissions from the members, because I apologize. I can't find where I put that photo, which is very embarrassing, but there you go.
Hey, Rachel,
Yeah.
this is Barney. Since you have the DXO, at some point, could you compare it to the new denoise that just came out today with Lightroom? I'd be interested in your opinion as to whether it's equivalent or better. I've been blown away with the new denoise that was released. I think it was today or yesterday with the updated Lightroom Classic.
The question was from Barney that have I compared DXO to the new Lightroom denoise? No, I haven't. And if it just came out today, I said definitely haven't. But thank you for that, Barney. And we should definitely have a look at that, because I should mention that the DXO RAW is expensive. So it costs about it's more than $100 anyway. So if you can use your inbuilt software in Lightroom and you already have a subscription to Lightroom, then you should just do that. But I do not know because I haven't compared it. But thanks, Barney. We'll definitely have a look at that. So let me share the Lightroom catalog again, and we'll get started with our submissions from our members. So the first person up tonight is in the room. It's Tim Labasi. Can we turn the lights down at all in here, or?
Yeah, Randy, could you hit that button back there in the corner?
So Tim, do you want to tell us about this photo? And then can I just start by saying the format of tonight is going to be, people will show us their RAWs and then they'll show us what they did to edit them and tell us about why they edited it that way and how they edited it. And it'll help you with, if anyone has any ideas that they would like to contribute, to chime in and say, hey, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? That they are welcome. So Tim, would you like to start?
Sure. So this is from Portugal last fall. And it's an amazing sunset. I basically exposed, so I didn't blow out the sky, which makes the rest of it kind of dark. And then I can't tell you exactly what I did because I don't remember, but I'm going to say that I either probably adjusted the entire photo a little bit, brought it down a little bit, and then I either used the mask, the sky mask or linear gradient, and adjusted the sky, brought that down substantially, and probably saturated a little bit. Used another mask on the beach to bring the exposure up, and probably did something in the middle too. And then I got rid of the guy, obviously.
Yeah, so this is, can I just move to your next photo, which is the So that's the raw, and then this is the one that this is what the editing that you did. So you got rid of the guy, importantly. The guy isn't you?
No, that's not me.
Okay.
And the only other thing I did was I probably enhanced the white waves. So I didn't do too much extra. My problem with stuff like this is sometimes I tend to overprocess.
Right.
Um,
Let's put them side by side so we can see. How did you remove the person in the photo?
Actually, I just used the heel in Lightroom. It worked great this go around.
Yeah.
It doesn't always, but it worked great in this instance.
Tim, did you use Lightroom for like a year ago or more recent one?
This one is probably in the last, not the newest version, but mine updates automatically, so it's probably pretty recent version. And I don't think it's too overexposed. That is kind of what the colors look like, or too overprocessed. That's kind of what the colors look like. I maybe could have lightened up the beach a little more.
I think it's fine. Can I ask, can everyone that's on Zoom hear the people in the room, or are you having problems hearing people in the room? Lauren, can you tell me if people are putting their hands up, or? Can you raise your hand if you can hear people in the room, please?
I can hear everybody.
Okay, perfect. So would anyone like to make any suggestions to what Tim's done, or tell him he did a brilliant job? You can do that too if you like.
I think it's a really good job. I'd like to see what the beach would look like. It's a little bit lighter. Would that draw too much attention to it? Maybe it's better that way.
Yeah, I didn't want to go too light because obviously it's not light.
So Randy, would you maybe crop a bit of that foreground out then, if it's not really adding much interest to the photo?
You know, I like the balance between the sky, the amount of the sky is about the same as the amount of the beach.
And this is Charlotte Kidd, and I think it's really important the way he lightened the water,
Yeah.
the funny part. That really helps the photo. That was really good. And I wonder exactly how he did that.
So Tim, can you tell people how you lightened the water?
I'm gonna say I just used the brush, but I might have used a luminosity mask and the brush and intersected the two of them, if that makes sense. So I probably put a luminosity mask over the entire thing, shooting for that white or that really bright white color, and then just brushed over where the water is.
I have sort of a better question. Certainly the post-process image is much nicer. And the question is that closer to what you recall seeing?
Yeah. That's my problem with shooting in RAW, is that RAW never looks very good unless you process it. So, yeah, I would say that's much closer. The water, you know, I might have enhanced the water more, but the color of the sky is pretty close to what I saw.
Yeah, I was assuming that because you probably wouldn't have taken a picture of the bus if that's what you saw.
Yeah.
Right.
So in case people at home didn't quite hear that question, it was, is the processed image closer to what you saw with your eye than what the raw image on the left captured on the sensor? And Tim said, yes, he thinks that what he saw is more like what he sees on what he did for the post-processing.
Rachel, could you do that process that Tim talked about with the luminosity and then to lighten up the water? I have no idea.
No, I can't do that in Lightroom because I don't use it, but maybe Lauren knows how to do that. Do you? It is the same, but I don't.
Except I don't have access.
Do you want to share the screen? I can. Oh, you'd have to jump on here.
Yeah, I don't have access to the images online, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at it and I was gonna start doing something. And I realized
Yeah,
it doesn't do anything.
we can't do it live because Lauren could do it, but he doesn't have access to the Lightroom catalog. But that's, maybe we could do that next meeting, at the beginning of the meeting.
Well, why don't you do it? We'll just talk you
Okay,
through it. Yeah.
sure.
Bring the image up in the develop module.
So I'll do it with instructions from my colleagues. How's that sound?
Yeah. So here's the raw image, now we'll pull that up in develop, you've got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I think what you probably did was just took a linear gradient up.
Nope, just
No.
put a luminosity mask on it.
Okay,
So in masks,
Yeah, and masks.
and where's luminosity?
Screen. Can't even see it.
It's over.
Flashes. So
yeah, I can't.
Yeah, it's really tough for us to see because we can't see the tools. It's too bad.
Well, if there's, she's not gonna be on it, but under mask, there's a luminosity mask. And then you take the little eyedropper and click on something that's white in the water.
Okay.
And then,
The water, no, the sky.
nope, in the water, because you want to lighten up the water, right?
Right, yeah.
So in the water. And then you intersect that with the brush. So what you're doing is you're saying, I only want to affect this color where I paint.
Okay.
And then you do that and the overlay will come up and then you can just play with those colors.
Okay.
And there's a way in the luminosity mask to kind of adjust the range of luminance.
Yeah, it's too hard to do it in Lightroom up here because.
It's flashing.
Screen enough.
Yeah, I apologize for that. We don't know why, because on my laptop, it's not doing that flickering. It just happens on the projector, right?
You can do the same thing with the color mask also, because in this instance, that color is right in there too.
Okay. So we're going to move on to a photo from Gigi. Gigi, you're online, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So can you talk to us about this photo?
Well, that photo was part of a series of photos that I took down here in the desert this winter. I just wanted to create sort of a portfolio of desert images. And so that was just one of them.
And there's another one here from you, this one here.
Yeah.
That's also from the desert.
Yeah, these are pictures that I haven't processed at all. Yeah, that's from the desert also.
Right. So you haven't processed them at all?
No.
So should we take this one and maybe do a little quick processing on this one? Would you mind?
No, not at all.
Okay. So I'm going to probably just set the white point and the black point. Well, maybe we won't bother if you can't see because of the tools flashing. What do you think, Lauren? Why are they flickering like that?
Say that something's flashing on your computer, and every time that flashes, it does. So
even if I just click auto adjust, already you can see if I just reset. So if I just click the auto, I know you can't see the tools, guys, and I really apologize. We don't know why. If I click auto adjust in the basic panel in Lightroom, already you can see the shadows are lifted on the tree. So if I zoom out, see how dark the trees are. If I press auto on the tone, already you get this nice detail appearing in the tree trunks. There's a lighter color on the fern, on the palm leaves. We could do a selection on the sky using the masking tool, which I know you can't see either, and I apologize, but all I did was click mask and select the sky. And let's maybe bring up the maybe the contrast a little bit down. We'll do some adjustments there. Maybe add a bit of clarity. Maybe make the sky a bit more blue, maybe not too blue, that blue. And we can dehaze the sky if we want, make it like that, like really full on. So yeah, there's just a couple of things that we've done. So we've gone from this to that, and it took us 2 minutes. So that's, you know, that's some things we could do. I would also, were you using a polarizing filter, Gigi? Because you've got these little black sort of.
No, I wasn't. I just think I used a really wide angle one. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So we can just get rid of that with the healing brush. Maybe not from that section, maybe here, or maybe just there.
And then just crop it from the top of the.
Or just crop it. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
we can
probably
do that.
better.
So we can crop it a little bit to just get rid of those little weird bits in the sky. So then if we look at the history, we've gone from that to that. So that's nice. What do you think, Gigi?
I think it's great. The very first thing that you did, you said you did in the basic panel before you went into develop. Is that right?
So in the develop mode of Lightroom, so you can see up the top here. Oh, you can't even see that. What's going on? This is really annoying.
I'm sure it's
This is
annoying.
one more ad for Macintosh. This is a problem we run into. Every time we've used a Mac, we've had a disaster.
But it's not, it's on my screen, it's fine.
But it's something between that and Zoom. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
So you go into the develop mode, which is up here. And then I selected the basic panel in Lightroom, which is the basic panel. And then I just went to tone and hit auto.
Tone. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never used that one. Okay.
Yeah. And so you get a nice result pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Lauren, what do you want to do about this flashing thing? Do you want, I mean, there's no way you can put this Lightroom on your computer, is there? If you think it's a Mac issue.
Look, we could test that. I hate to.
Sorry, guys, we're trying to fix this because it's really hard to edit if you can't see the panels.
But it doesn't do that in Photoshop.
Doesn't it?
It did not in Photoshop. So we should be throwing Lightroom under the bus, not now.
Maybe does it do it in Camera Raw? Because that's what I normally
Let me
use.
just tell you in a second right here.
Now it's showing up.
Yeah, it's not flashing.
No, it's not. Why is that?
I use a PC.
But you don't have all the photos in there, do you?
I only had what was up there yesterday.
Okay, so you won't have Becky's.
Let's see.
I apologize for this. I'm sorry. We didn't know this was going to happen. This is the trouble with trying to do hybrid meetings, and something's going to go wrong every time.
You can move the zoomers over to the left-hand side, that we really don't.
That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
You don't want in that.
So minimize that.
Yeah.
Full screen.
Yeah. That works.
Would you want me to work off your computer? I guess I can try. I mean,
Yeah.
I can just swap seats with you if you want.
Okay. We can pull the Zoom stuff now, but that's okay.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so sorry about that, everyone. So you don't have Gigi's photos, but we've gone through one of hers. So Lauren, do you want to talk us through this one? You've got a coyote here. Let's go with yours, shall we?
Let me sit over there then.
Oh,
We're playing musical
so
chairs.
Lauren's going to talk us through his coyotes.
Okay. So we're back here now. All right, let me see where we are. I've got so many things up on this screen right now that it's a little hard to see what I'm doing. But you can all see it, right? I mean, it's right there. Yeah. This back up. Okay, just driving by last week out in the park, and coyote was out doing its thing, hunting. And the way I like to approach these critique things is, to ask you to look, what are the problems? What do you see as the major issue? And before we start pushing buttons and moving sliders and stuff like that, let's come up with a game plan of what we can do and what you see to be the major issues with this image.
I don't like the fence. I'm anti-fence, as everybody knows. So you could remove the fence.
And the snow is too dark.
Okay.
The white balance is off.
Uh-huh.
Everything's off.
Yep.
It's too all.
This is a raw image straight out of the camera.
Altogether.
So yeah, expect you're gonna have those issues that we just mentioned. So white balance,
Exposure needs to
Exposure,
be pushed a
luminosity.
bit.
the
The shadows are
perhaps
too
the
dark.
cropping or the
Yeah, a lot of cropping, just so that minimize the number of weeds there and the focus is on him.
okay. Those all sound good.
Bring
to
up
me.
the shadows.
So
Is this a color image?
yeah.
Okay.
This is one of these days. I don't know if you saw it. The shutter speed was about 3,000th or something like that. Let's see what it was. Yeah, 2,500th at f7. A really bright sunny day, and of course you got a coyote jumping out there in the bright sun. You can see it's about noon. The shadow's right below him. So of those things, in crop first, is that what you're looking at? So which way do you want to crop it?
From the bottom, right?
But take out the fence too.
Take the fence out.
Take out the fence.
Take up the fence with Richard's technique.
With the
I
fence
moved it
tool.
over to the right a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
More like this. Do you want to crop more?
It's too high. Yeah, it's too high in the picture. Or bottom right and bottom.
It's sort of, this weed sort of bothers me right down here right now. That's the only thing I was thinking about. If you just wanted to take it up just a little bit more. So you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, what else now? Now we got coyote, sort of improved composition. We've sort of got him a little bit off the center, and we've we've got rid of a lot of the junk. So exposure. So what do you want to do with
I
exposure?
would go to the one on the right, what do they call that? That you could pick out the animal and then do the opposite. So you could line him up.
Mask.
Okay, are you happy with this gray snow? Yeah.
Exposure has to
Yeah, we got to do something about the gray snow for sure, because that's an
What?
issue.
What would happen if you hit auto in basic like you did on Gigi's photo? How much would that improve it?
Well, I don't know. We can find out up here if I can find the auto button. So I did a bunch of things. The snow is still a little bit gray, but it brought the exposure up, certainly exposed the animal better. And that's always a good place to start. People get intimidated by Lightroom, but it really is a good place to start. That auto, if it can get you 80% of the way to where you want to end up, I think that's a real plus. So how are we going to fix the white balance?
The white balance.
Yeah, one of the easiest things is if we use this eyedropper tool and select that, all we have to do is pick something that's white. How do you know it's white? Well, the R, G, and the B values at the bottom are all the same. that tells you that is perfect white. And right now you see it's what, 79, 78, 79. So that's a pretty close to a pure white right there. So if we click that, that will reset the white balance. I didn't look to see how much it changed it, but we'll get an idea of that's how much it changed it right there. So, so that made a big improvement. It's still perhaps not pure white, but if you look at our histogram, notice we have a full range of the histogram from 0 all the way up to 255. So we are getting white exposure on this, even though there's not very much of it. If you wanted to mess with it more, certainly one of the things that the auto did is it put the white tonal curve way up high. We could try bringing that up even a little bit more. And if you notice, I've got my clipping markers turned on here. So we're not overexposing this to the point where we're getting clipping of the white. So we're still seeing it, even though we brought it up that much. But we still got the animal issue.
Just in the end.
So how are we going to do it?
A mask.
Yeah, we've got this high-powered masking tool. So if we go over here and open our masks and just say, can you find a sorry about that. You can tell I updated Lightroom and I haven't used it since I updated. So we're going to take a subject and we're letting the AI part now of this new masking tool find the subject, and it's going to show us as it refines the results here. I'm sorry, I hadn't turned on Lightroom since I upgraded it yesterday. So it's going to take just a second. It's one of those PC things that are really slow. And now it's going to show us, well, right there, it took my previous exposure. Now all of a sudden you've got color in the coyote, you've got quite a big change with that. Do you want to go farther in that? Do you want to see?
No.
You okay with that?
Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just turn off the masking tool for a second, and then using that / control, that's where we started. That's where we ended. And even with all the talking, that's still, what, took 2 minutes or something? Now, what did I do with it? Here's my JPEG rendition. And I left that damn fence in the
Too much fence.
Too much fence.
Look at you lightened up the coyote.
Yeah. And that's why I just used the subject mask. That's the only thing I did, I think, with this thing at all.
And it's interesting, it's on his chest.
Yeah.
But his back is dark.
Yeah. So we'll go back to the one we just did. Let me go to full screen mode so you hopefully can see this just a little bit better. And that's what we ended up with.
I would still take out some that big foreground. It looks like he's gonna hit the ceiling.
Okay. So easy enough to do. Go back to our editing and just hit the crop business.
Or even move the whole thing up a little bit so that he's more in the
Center.
upper third or center.
Yeah. Then we're going to get more fence, but
But she can take care of that.
yeah, and you could take the fence out if you
But you shorten the bottom, just move it up to the. There you go.
something like that.
Yes.
Let's see if it's.
Yeah.
So we go back to the composition thing that we talked about, what, a month, 2 months ago, I guess, in the peer mentor group, and said, hey, the simplest thing to do when you have a composition is fill the frame. Find your subject, fill the frame, with the subject. And this isn't a high resolution camera, by the way. This is Sony A9 II. So this is only a 25 megapixel camera. It's not a 40 or 60 or all the kind of things that people are using right now. And you're still able to do that.
The nice thing about this photo now is the kind of what's important, and you see him by the hair. In the first picture, you didn't really notice that. This
Yeah.
one, and I'm wondering, is he gonna get a mole there?
Yeah. He had a frustrating day. I'll just tell you as an anecdote, and I'll turn this back over to Rachel. The snow is so frozen. Every time he would try to jump, he couldn't break through, and he would just stop like that. He got very frustrated and ended up running off. So, but he was also a long ways out when I was shooting this thing. So, do you want to?
No, I think
Go
you
to the
should keep
next.
going because, oh, you want me to jump on here? Okay,
You
sure.
know, with whatever.
Can you
Next image.
open your emails at all?
Can I what?
Open your emails and get Becky's images. I just sent you a link to Dropbox. Can you do that or not?
Yeah, I should be able to.
I sent you a link to the Dropbox where you could grab Becky's images and then we could work on them.
Or you can just work on the ones that are already there. It's okay.
Well, those people aren't in the room.
Oh,
Yeah.
Which address did you send it to?
I sent it to the Lauren at chair at Teton Photography Club.
Oh.
Do you want it sent to somewhere else?
Just to try to find this thing, you know.
Is there a better email address?
If you do the Yahoo one. Sometimes that other one's delayed.
Okay.
So any questions and comments while we're messing around here?
Well, like, Rachel, do you have Topaz?
Yeah,
So you can compare all three at some point in time.
yeah.
Out of curiosity.
Yeah, so whilst we were talking about that, Barney also sent me a screenshot of a comparison of the new Lightroom noise reduction, which I will show you before the end of this meeting. So yeah, we should definitely do a comparison of the Topaz AI denoise, the DxO raw denoise, and the new Lightroom denoise and see how they compare.
Curiosity.
Yeah, and the important thing to note too, as I said earlier, is if you've got Lightroom and you're paying for it, you don't have to pay for these extra third-party. You don't have to pay for the extra third-party apps. If the one in Lightroom is perfectly fine, then go and drop $100 on Topaz. You know, yeah. So
I've been impressed with Topaz. So
yeah. Well, actually, whilst Lauren's doing that, let me show you what Barney just sent me. Can you let me screen share?
Yeah. My wife said you should be able to take over.
Okay. Let's see where it is. So Barney just kindly sent me a screenshot from the new denoise in Lightroom, everyone. So let's have a look at that as an example. It's not a comparison between the three different programs, so we'll have to do that maybe for the next meeting.
you're still on Lauren's computer.
I know, I'm just downloading it, sorry. So I'll just go share this. All right, so I'm sharing this now. Thank you, Barney, for sending this. So can everyone see that?
No, still on Lauren's screen.
Oh,
Yeah, it says we're reviewing.
it says that you're sharing my screen, but it's
Well,
not.
that's because Lauren has his email up.
Oh, sorry. Yes. They're seeing something different right now. I'm
We're
trying to
seeing
get
his
this thing
spam.
done.
And actually, we're looking at his Dropbox.
And I can't get this to download.
So is that,
It's pretty amazing.
oh, can you guys see that? Because we,
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can. And it's very good.
Barney, are you online? Would you like to talk about it quickly since you sent me this? Is Barney online?
Go down. Well, my connection.
Okay. He sent it to me, so I presume he's in the meeting, but anyway. So I think he said to me that this was 4400 ISO. No, 14,400 ISO on the left. And then he applied the new denoise in Lightroom and got the result you can see there. That's pretty incredible, right?
Right.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So that's something, apparently it only came out today, so we probably should all have a look at it. What I can do is quickly while I'm here is also show you what happens in the, we can sort of do a quick and dirty comparison from DxO. So I'll just share that. Hold on 1 second. So here's DxO. There we go. So I'm going to process this image here.
Price, maybe?
Let's say what we're finding, this technology is just changing so fast. A month ago, if somebody say, what is the best noise reduction? I think Topaz had it nailed. There were a number of reviews that went back and forth about noise reduction on Photoshop, Lightroom, and Topaz, and almost every one of the reviews said, hey, Topaz is probably worth it if you're shooting noisy images. Now with the new DxO stuff and this new thing in Lightroom, I would guess Lightroom's going to give them a run for the thing. But,
Yeah.
I think the
generated noise reduction thing.
I think the important thing too that this raises for photographers, particularly photographers that are shooting in low light, there was a time when it was really important that you kept your ISO low in the field. So I'm a wildlife photographer. I frequently, I'm shooting animals in the canopy or in the forest, or, I need to boost my ISO really high. And to do that, now you can just correct that in software. So if we have a look at the results here, I'm going to zoom in on that. So this is a pine marten that I took a few weeks ago. It's something like 14,000 again, like Barney was saying. I don't know if you guys on Zoom can see that. Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah.
See the difference? So, I mean, it makes it a little bit soft, but this is, if you put it on 1:1.
But you don't get those odd colors.
that's what I'm
See?
surprised how much chrominance noise there is. What camera is this?
This is a Canon R5. It's 14,000 ISO, I think. It's really high. But no, 12,800, I believe. But I mean, this is the kind of tools that are now available to you. So really, for example, shooting wildlife, now my priority is just to keep my shutter speed as high as possible so that I don't, not as high as possible, but you know what I mean? Like high enough that I don't miss that shot. So if I'm this happened, this pine marten literally ran in front of my car at Coulter Bay, and I had to jump out and shoot it before it disappeared into the forest, and it paused for long enough for me to get 6 photos, a burst, and then it was gone. But I had my shutter speed set to 1/2,000th of a second and on auto ISO, and the ISO went to 12,800 to get the exposure, but I didn't miss the shot. I didn't get a blurry animal on my screen. I got it. It's noisy, but with these post-processing tools these days, you can fix that in post. I got a noisy shot, but I got the shot. Previously, I would have missed the shot. So, these tools are really, really good. And we should definitely set up, Tim and Barney suggested too, we should do a 3-way comparison of those new tools and see how they look. That's a great idea. Yeah. Did you manage to get any of Becky's images, Lauren?
Can't. It cuts off for these guys. They can't see anything when I'm messing with it. So let's just go with what you
Okay.
got, because
So yeah, worth considering. And thank you, Barney, for that contribution. I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to have another go at this. So I'm sorry about this, guys, and maybe we should figure out how to deal with this. I didn't realize that it doesn't like Max.
we had a Mac problem the other day, but it was a totally different thing.
I just jumped in. Which noise reduction software are you using there?
So that one was called DxO Raw. D and an X and a 0 or an O for orange, Raw.
Okay, thank you.
It's a separate package. It plugs into Lightroom. You can drag and drop images into it from anywhere. You can right click on an image and tell it to process it in DxO, but it's a third-party software, so you pay extra. So it's, I mean, it's more than $100. It's not cheap. So yeah, we will do a comparison with these new Lightroom tools and see if they're better.
Do you know if it handles video also or just stills?
Good question, and I don't know the answer to that. So Becky, are there any pairs of images here, or do you just want to?
No, I just threw the raw ones in there, but yeah, kind of hard to.
Try opening the camera raw.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just open it over Photoshop and put that, because that might not. It works basically the same.
Yeah.
No, this was down in Monterey. And this, the gal, the skier.
I mean, I don't know where the image is. Let me see.
She wanted these images, and I got the definitely three one.
Oh, this is one of the things.
No. No, this is down at the Jenny Ranch down in Monterey. Okay. No, it's not flashing.
Yeah, but I'm not using it. So I don't, maybe if you use it, it doesn't like it. I don't know. All right, let's try this and see if this works. So it's not flashing right now. This is Adobe Camera Raw, which is basically the same software as Lightroom. It has the same sliders, the same panels, everything. The difference between Adobe Camera Raw, by the way, and Lightroom is primarily the cataloging features you can do in Lightroom, where you've got the collections and you can sort all your photos in a catalog. This does not let you do that, which is why I like it more. So let's start with this photo of Becky's. So I think we should lead with what Lauren was doing. Should we ask people for their input? So the first thing I would say is, what is all this weird green stuff? That's really distracting, isn't it?
It's very distracting. It's what they sprayed on the snow to tell the skier, you know, because they have to go around those.
Oh, okay.
No, but they're supposed to be right where you were right there. There's supposed to be like a little flag there that they have to go around. And those rings that are hanging up there that she's reaching for, they have to reach and get both rings on their arm and keep on going. So in this photo, you've got somebody standing behind the rings.
Yeah.
So there's a pair of legs, looks like it's holding up that pose.
Yeah.
I thought you circled that person back there with something, yeah.
Yeah, so do we want to, first of all, maybe we'll just start in the basic panel and we'll just maybe hit auto adjust and see what it does. Let's try that. So let's do that. Didn't do a lot really.
Right there.
Yeah, so
The horse riders.
so we're gonna, the white balance is here as shot. We're gonna do it into auto and see what that does. It's probably a little bit warm. I might still bring it down a bit blue. The shadows are really, the blacks are really dark, but we're not actually clipping anything here. So I might bring the exposure up a tiny bit. And then I'm going to bring up the shadows because it just seems to be really dark. And then maybe because I brought the shadows up, I'll bring the exposure back down a little bit. So I think, do you want to get rid of this person here?
Yeah, but you gotta keep the post with the rings.
Oh, I don't know how we're gonna do that.
So maybe just get rid of the legs and get rid of some of that brown snow. It's just disgusting.
So I don't know. Should we try healing that, Lauren? What would you do here on the legs?
I mean, I think you have several options. I mean, one option is that you could take your brush, paint it, and you could just turn the saturation down so that it basically becomes a monochrome image. So it's going to show up, a little bit gray perhaps on some of it, but that would be one way to do it.
Are you talking about the snow?
Yeah.
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 So you bring down the saturation.
Yeah, you can just bring the set.
So all I've done is select the brush, paint it over that brown snow and pull the saturation down. Sort of works.
Yeah. So it will give it a little bit of a gray,
Yeah.
tinge. And if that bothers you, then you can, there are a couple of other ways you can do it. You can do it, replace and all that kind of stuff, but that's a quick and easy way. And
Should we try removing the legs with the healing brush? Let's have
No,
a go. Let's have a go.
uh,
it's gonna be hard.
Right. That's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah. It's gonna
It's
be,
actually not only the legs, but inside the rings,
Yeah.
the body.
that's almost a Photoshop. Well,
Yeah.
in even a tablet. I wouldn't want to try to do that with my finger on a.
I mean, we
little
can sort
touchpad.
of roughly do it.
since this is an editorial picture, it's not really a landscape picture where you're trying to make it more beautiful. It's kind of an editorial picture. And it seems to me you want to leave everything in it. Unless there's something really distracting or something.
Well, that makes sense. And what about taking that orange of the rings, which is very distracting, and just completely toning it down so it doesn't draw your eye, but it's still there?
Yeah,
Yep.
this is exactly the challenge that Becky was mentioning, is that that's an important part
Yeah.
of this event, to have that, but at the same time, that person that couldn't have been in a worse position, he's sitting right inside of the rings.
I mean, what we could try is the clone brush, which is here in the healing panel. And what we could do is we could select an area outside of those rings in the snow here. So we hold down our control key. What's the equivalent on a PC? Alt control, and select that area and then try to remove it. Oh, it's taking it from there. So let's pull it over here. We can feather it. So the feathering basically means blur the edges. So too much feathering. I mean, we can kind of adjust the position. So, I mean, that's not perfect, but we could adjust that a little bit, maybe. We select it again. Maybe increase the size slightly. I'm not sure. In fact, let's delete it and try again. Let's go back here.
I mean, aren't the rings part of the story?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to remove the person from inside the rings, not the rings themselves. That's what we're doing.
Well, that's, yeah.
So we're trying to make a,
That should be like that silver post, where it should be.
so see this person in here, we want to get rid of that person, but not the rings. So we're trying to make a circle big enough. And then I'm going to hold down Alt Control and select the snow and then do this. And now it's decided to go over here. We don't want it to sample from over there. We want it to sample from here. Sort of move that up a little bit. Maybe reduce the opacity a little bit.
And put the post over it.
We'll put the post over it.
It's not. It's
Okay.
yeah, hanging out, so you see the post. Oh, right, I see. Right, the way out, right, right. But she just.
No, I mean, realistically, this is
This is a
something
Photoshop.
beyond my.
Yeah, this
You
is a
need to be-
Photoshop job, I would say.
Yeah,
But, you know, we've sort of made a mess of it, but it's sort of gone.
If you back it out. to the
Yeah.
original picture, It's better.
It's better than it was.
I mean, the version's Yeah. better, so that's
Yeah.
better than it was. But I guess the question is, do you leave all that green in there? So, it is kind of distracting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, that's the controversy. It's
Right.
part of the story, but it's not part of the image. And it's very distracting. And then every time you say, what's all that green stuff? No, you have to explain, and that's what it is. So I think that's the fundamental question you have to ask yourself. Obviously, when this is a journalistic piece, you gotta leave it,
Right.
you know, gotta leave the guy
You can
hanging
change
in
it
the
to blue,
rings.
because that's more realistic for terrain park features that have blue paint on the side. That's a good. And then, it would- yeah, to me, it would like, oh, yeah, that's what it's for. Right, I mean, that's what it's for, but the color is odd because normally it's blue. Yeah, you can move on to another image.
Well, I'm just going to crop it as well because, you know, there's a lot of stuff in the foreground here that I don't think we need. I mean, can we crop it down this much or is
Oh,
that?
yeah.
It's really hard to discern that the rings are next to her and now the snow behind it is.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
And at another angle shot, it wasn't quite as bad, but.
I mean, I would take this into Photoshop and possibly use the anti-fence tool, the remove tool. You could try that on the rings. I think some of the editing in this is a little bit out of the abilities of Lightroom, would you say, Lauren?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this probably needs to be taken into Photoshop possibly. But we've improved it. I mean, let's go back and look at it again. Oh, where did it go? So we can do a history. Opening camera raw. Actually, that's not the one we had. Anyway, let's not do any more.
Yeah.
We'll go in. This is another one of Becky's. This is this is a heron. So I would say one of the things I want to do with this is I want to highlight the subject a bit more because it's kind of blending into the foreground a bit. And so what I'm going to do is use the new masking tools to select the subject. So that's in the mask panel. And has everyone seen these new tools? They're fairly recent, but if you haven't seen them, go play with them because they're really clever. It's AI, so it will figure out what is the sky, what is the subject, what is the background, and you don't have to do anything. So you select subject. Okay, you have to do something because it's so you can see this. It thinks this red area is the subject. So let's zoom in a little bit, and we don't want to touch this area. We just want the heron. So what you can do is you can modify that mask by using the subtract button, and that will take away areas of the mask that you don't want to be part of it. So I don't want that big red area on the snow. So I'm going to get my brush and I'm going to remove all of that because I don't want that. I just want the heron. I don't want that. So let's just get rid of that. So I'm just using the brush tool and I selected subtract and I asked it to take that away, make it a bit smaller. Get rid of that so that it's now just on the heron. I probably don't want this little bit of ice in the foreground either. So I'm just going to say, please don't adjust that, just the bird. And then maybe I'll just zoom in a bit more and just get that little bit near the top of its head. And there's a little bit of staining on that snow, so that's gone. So now let's just bring up that bird a little bit. So what I think I'll do is bring up the exposure on it a bit. Oh, where's my mask on? So with my mask activated, I'll just bring up the exposure on that bird. So if I just pull those sliders all the way across, you can see now that it's selectively adjusting the bird, not the whole image. Okay, so that's the nice part of that. What else do people want to do here? Maybe we want to adjust the, if we go, crop it, okay.
Right in.
So you want to crop it towards the bird this way?
Yeah.
Okay. And we want to sort of keep the bird in the sort of thirds of the picture. So in the area where the third lines intersect.
You move it over a little tiny bit to the water comes to life. The other way.
Yeah, that way. That way.
I would think even more snow, because that's a big part of the story. And
More
then I
snow. More
yeah,
snow, people.
might bring up a little detail in the snow to take it down a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
that starts to tell the story.
So should we select, let's see if we can select that snow so then we can fiddle with maybe the clarity and the texture in it. So let's try and see if it'll select the background. I don't know if it's going to do it. No, it's not. Okay, fail. Let's try and select the sky maybe. It's not going to do that. So we can do an inverse. Is that what you're going to say, Tim?
No,
No, just bring your weights down.
Just
No,
bring,
it-
There's
it's
a
not easy.
luminance range
White-
on that tool.
Yeah, the
There's
whites
a
and the
luminance
shadows
range.
will take all that for you.
all right, so you want to bring the highlights down or the whites down?
Probably the highlights first. See what that does. That
Hang
should
on.
bring the detail that Peter mentioned. You want to see more detail in the snow, so usually bringing the highlights down, and you may have to bring one of those.
Highlights
But-
are right down there.
And look what that does to the bird. Do a before and after now of that. Just that alone, how that makes the bird stand out almost as much as doing the silk mask.
Yeah.
Just a backslash. Yeah.
What is it?
Backslash.
This one?
No, that's forward slash, the other one.
That one?
That one, yeah.
The back
Okay.
will take you to the original photo. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a trick for everybody, by the way. The backslash key on your keyboard will show you the original photo. So that's the original. That's the edited. Original, edit.
I think, Peter's comment was really good. I mean, the snow is
Yeah.
the story on this thing, and you want the detail on the snow. You didn't want that all sort of washed out. And it's easiest to do that just with your highlights and white control.
So what do people think so far? So that's the original. That's with the edits. Looking good, right? So,
Yes.
Peter, did you want more detail in that snow? Because we could brush in some clarity or texture if you want. Do you want to do that?
I think it's perfect the way it is.
Okay.
Or quick and dirty, touch the dehaze.
Quick and dirty dehaze. Okay, sure. Let's do some quick and dirty dehaze. So the dehaze slider is down here. Let's just pull it all the way over. That's too
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
The dehaze is a magic control. It changes contrast, it changes exposure, it changes highlights all at one time. And that you can overdo it very easily, as you see. But
See,
it's also
overdo-
a very quick way to bring out some.
Lightroom has it. Camera Raw and Lightroom have the same tools, by the way. They have exactly the same tools.
And which tool is that? I didn't quite see it.
Dehaze.
Dehaze.
Oh, okay.
This is in the basic panel and it's right down the bottom here. It's got texture, clarity, dehaze. So if we pull it all the way over, I mean, maybe you want that effect. I
No,
think somewhere around plus 10 maybe is good.
yeah.
Because you don't want the water in the lower left hand to get too dark.
Yeah, so if we take it back to 0 or 10.
That definitely.
But
Yeah.
something happens when you go not all the way but when you go pretty far and the lower left starts to get pretty dark, it develops a very powerful moody feeling, I think.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
does.
But maybe you could maybe just brush the lower left in because you don't want to lose all the detail around the water in front of the bird. So I'm going to put it at +11. I reckon that looks pretty good. And so now this is our original, and you can see that the bird is kind of blending a little bit into the background. Here's our edited version, and now the bird is the subject. It's popping much more than it was. I think that's a good result. What do you think, Becky? You like it?
You can see the reflection in the water.
Yeah. Is this taken with your R7?
Yes, and it was the first time I shot it, and I just think I just had it on manual and I didn't change anything. I just started shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's really great. I think what you've got is really great. I'm a little puzzled in the right across the let's say the bottom of the upper third. It looks like noise, or maybe it's crystals or something right in there below your pointer. It looks like it got noisy in there somehow, but the rest of it I wouldn't change.
I mean, I kind of also like this shot.
Yeah.
But you know what? People sometimes fall for the fallacy that if you're shooting wildlife, you have to fill the frame, and you don't. You don't have to fill the frame. You can. There's, I like this shot, but I also really like this shot. So, think about that when you're going out shooting, because you don't have to fill the frame all the time. It's nice to have animals in the environment. And if you have enough megapixels on your camera, you can crop in later as well. And it's sometimes nice to have more to work with than less to work with.
Right.
So maybe shoot wide, shoot tight, do both. And then, because animals in the environment are really interesting images. You don't have to have a bird that's, tightly cropped in the frame.
I like it better with the environment.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, I quite like that too, but then, yeah. So think about that when you're out in the field, because, you can't really replace it if you don't shoot it at the time. So shoot it at the time, shoot one tight, shoot one wide, and then you can fiddle with it later. So that's.
We're getting a 5-minute warning from the library. They're going to
Okay.
be walking us out here. Maybe we should open up for comments a little bit.
Yeah, okay, so we'll open up
Questions?
questions and comments. We've got 4 minutes left.
That bird one you just did was that the Lightroom software that you used?
That software that I just did the heron in is called Camera Raw, Adobe Camera Raw, but it's exactly the same as Lightroom. It has exactly the same sliders. It does exactly the same thing, except it doesn't have the cataloging module where you can make collections and all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, for some reason, Lightroom is flickering, which is why I switched to Raw.
Which one do you like better?
I use Adobe Camera Raw because I don't like the cataloging that Lightroom has, but that's a very personal taste.
I'd say just the opposite. The
Yeah.
power of Lightroom is that you can edit 1,000 pictures as fast as you can edit one picture. And by doing the functions, even though they're identical in Lightroom, now you can say, okay, synchronize these, and bam, if you fired a burst mode and shot 150 of that coyote jumping up and down, they'd all be edited.
You can also do that in Camera Raw.
Oh, you can?
Yes, you can.
How do you get the images?
How do you get the images
Yeah.
in there?
Yeah.
Well, so you just have them in a folder, either on your drive or an external drive, and you open them up, you read them through Raw, you select them and you sync them. Yeah. You just don't have them in a catalog. They can be in a folder on your hard drive or a folder on your external drive or on an SSD, whatever. And you just read them through Raw as if like a Windows Explorer, when you go to Windows and you look through all your files that are all buried and your folders. That's how Camera Raw works. It does not have catalogs. And that's why I like it, because I used to have so much trouble with my catalogs crashing, corrupting, not finding the photos and all this stuff. So I use that. But the functions are identical. Yeah. The edit functions are identical. Yeah. And also, if you have the photography plan, you have access to Adobe Camera Raw as well, if you ever wanted to fiddle around with it. Any other questions? We've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
Use Camera Raw through Photoshop, or you just open Camera?
I open Camera Raw. So I open Adobe Bridge.
Okay.
That's where I sort my photos. That's where I tag my photos. I keyword my photos, and then I edit them in RAW, in Adobe Camera Raw. And then I go to Photoshop if I want to do fine tuning stuff.
So is camera raw non-destructive, just like Lightroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it works exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. It just doesn't have the ability to do collections and
Right.
cataloging and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you like to use, you find that Bridge is useful for intermediate before you dig into it with Lightroom? 'Cause I never use Bridge, but it sounds like it might be worth looking into.
You don't need to use Bridge if you're using Lightroom because it does the same thing as Lightroom. You don't need it because all Bridge does is let you keyword your images, sort them into folders, things like that. If you have Lightroom, it does it all one-stop shop. So you don't need it.
I have a comment on the ski joring photo. The difficulty that you had trying to solve that problem indicates that there's a really good argument for taking, especially with action, taking quite a lot of shots. So you wouldn't want to pick a particular shot to work with, and you'd have some right close to it.
I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Take lots of shots these days. Storage is cheap. If you have a big enough card and you can write to a big card in your camera, take a lot of shots because, yeah, that lady with the legs in the way, she might have moved in the next like 15 shots, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, good point. All right, guys, thanks. We've got to log out and we appreciate everyone being here. We apologize for technical difficulties. Don't forget about the Yellowstone trip. May the 1st at noon, you'll get an email. You've got to respond straight away. I'm not sure what we have next month, but we will let you know with our snapshot that comes out on May the 1st. So we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I get 505.
What was your name again? Barb Schaefer. Hi, Barb. I signed